Don't forget to turn on your mics. Okay.
Did we hear anything? Deb?
She won't be here tonight.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock on Tuesday, December 8th. I hereby call the meeting of the Raymore Arts Commission to order. And Dana, would you kindly take a roll call?
Chair Parise,
Here.
Commissioner Gambro,
Here.
Commissioner Lawrence,
Here.
Commissioner Martin, Commissioner Berry,
Here.
Commissioner Kennebec, Commissioner Setzer.
Present.
Thank you. That concludes the roll call, and that means that we do have a quorum. Okay, if we could rise and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I don't think we have any public comments. There's no one in the audience. Were there any submissions to the staff? Okay.
There were not.
All right. With that, we'll start with the staff report. Meredith, could you please do a budget update for us?
Sure. Okay, so I included in your packet the updated budget. The new fiscal year did start on November 1st, and the Arts Commission has $20,000 in its budget for this fiscal year. Right off the top comes $5,000 for the Art in the Park event, now called Summer Scene, and so that leaves $15,000 for the rest of the year. The two items in italic are items that we'll be discussing tonight, and I will note one change for you that we'll get into more in the streetlight banner conversation. That price has increased to $1,220. We had originally been moving forward with a vendor that gave us a very good deal. We have discovered that they're very challenging to work with, and there's a reason. They give a good deal. And so the updated price will be $610 per set of banners for Municipal Circle. So the new remaining balance will be $13,280. But we'll get into that in more detail when we get to that section. I just wanted to update that for you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda under staff report is a community stakeholder workshop update. So Jill Grotzinger is working on the final report right now and getting a draft over to us to take a look at. She will be here to present that at the special workshop that will be Tuesday, January 5th at 7 p.m. So I hope everybody is available for that, and we'll be in the executive conference room for that meeting. We did have a joint meeting scheduled with the City Council on February 1st to present that report to them and to allow a group conversation. The City Council scheduled their dates for their strategic planning session last night, and the dates are Monday, February 1st, will be the citywide town hall meeting. And that will be in place of the regular City Council work session. And then after the main town hall meeting, there will be two additional town hall meetings, and they will each focus on a specific facet of the strategic plan. And so those topics will be determined at a later date and time. But the dates for those are Tuesday, February 16th, and Monday, February 29th. And I want to make sure you guys have those on your calendar, because absolutely we would love the Arts Commission members to be available and to attend those. You don't have to attend all three. You can just attend, whatever set of the three that work best for your schedule. But the most important one will be the one on Monday, February 1st. So,
And that starts at what time, please?
we haven't set the time or the location, but I would expect around 6 or 7.
Okay.
Yeah. So you will be getting a lot more information if you are on any of our email lists and follow us on social media, etc. you guys have done a great job mobilizing the community for your own strategic planning efforts, and so I would encourage you to reach out to any neighbors or people who you know are particularly interested in being a part of this process. I think having the Arts Commission voice and people who are passionate about the arts will be a really important component of the strategic plan. So the more people that we can get and bring to the table, not just adults either, if there are kids that are interested in being part of the process, that's a really important voice we need to hear for this as well. So stay tuned for a lot more details, but I wanted to get those dates on your calendar. Any questions about that? Oh, and I will, Jim Fearborn and I are meeting tomorrow to talk about a date to get you all in front of the city council for the joint meeting. So I will send that out ASAP once I have that identified.
Do you think that'll be in the month of February, or is that going to be pushed to March?
I'm not sure. I would like it done sooner rather than
Yeah.
later. So, and I
with
think
all
that's
that
the
going
intent.
on. Okay.
Absolutely.
I had a question, so they were talking about wanting like 1,000 people or something to participate?
100 people
100
is the
people.
goal. Ideally, we would like more than that. I mean, the more people we can bring to the table for the process, the better. But the goal for the town hall meeting is 100 people. But
How will that be advertised before February?
so Mike and I are actually working on the communications plan right now. So very similar to how we advertised your information. There, it will be the cover story in the Raymore Review that's coming out shortly. We're setting up specific email lists for it. Social media will be important. We'll have printed materials, the newspapers, kind of the full facet of options available to us will be utilized.
Will you be sending something out in the mail or in a utility bill or?
Oh, yeah, we'll do a utility bill insert. Yeah, good.
Just a quick question. When you
Yeah.
say 100, is that a total over all 3 meetings or per?
Per.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't get to ask questions.
No, that's okay. I'm happy to answer those questions. Yeah, so as we go through that and we start advertising it, definitely give us your feedback on places you think we're missing, or if you want to reach out to people and need some materials to hand out, we're happy to provide those for you. So just let us know how we can help you spread the word. Next, I'll turn it over to Mike to do a quick update about the Summer Scene event.
The Summer Scene Committee, we had our first meeting on November 23rd, and I thought it went fairly well. Kind of introduced the committee to the new look and feel, the new name, Summer Scene, and also to talk a little bit about the vision that I think we'd come up with to really provide an art festival at the TB Hanna Station Park with kind of a twist on it, something that was going to be interactive, and also kind of folks, as they come out, will actually be able to participate in some of the art projects that we have going on out there. Looking to, at this point, we're kind of looking to find sponsors and different businesses in the community who would like to financially support the event, looking at June 11th still for the event itself. And so right now, like I said, kind of more behind the scenes work going on. Our next meeting will be January 11th, and we'll be kind of looking at solidifying a list of folks that we think would be good sponsors and a good fit to help us kind of bring in some interesting different projects.
Mike, January 11th, did I miss something? What time does that start?
We had initially talked about
about that date.
Yeah, about that day,
But
just as
not-
kind of a
Okay.
Yeah, we hadn't said anything in stone. I haven't sent an email
Okay,
out
fine.
officially. But
I
that,
thought
that
I
was
was
just,
missing something.
I knew, and we kind of wanted to pause for the holidays a little bit because we
Yeah.
knew everyone was getting busy, and especially with the way the way sponsorships go. As long as we kind of get in right after the first of the year, I think we'd be pretty safe.
Thank you.
Are any special events planned this far in advance, or are you guys still deciding on all of them? I ask because if we're out and about and find someone we think might be a good sponsor, we're more likely to get something if we ask something specific.
Sure. We're pretty clean slate right now. I have some ideas in mind. Would definitely like to have a sponsor who could come in and say sponsor a stage. Someone who'd be able to sponsor even some of our food areas, or even if there are specific art displays or art vendors that they'd like to sponsor. One of the ideas I think that we had actually kind of emailed back and forth about was about doing an art contest with the students as well as within the community. That would be a photography contest. Twofold, we'd be able to hold the contest at the festival and announce winners, but also in June we'll be unveiling a newly designed website for the city. And so the winners of that photography contest, we could take their art and use it on the website, which is going to be really kind of photo forward and focused.
Perhaps a sponsorship opportunity would be to sponsor this contest and then put their name on the website also, so they would get some extra feedback.
Correct, probably under the summer scene section of the website, yes.
Are you looking for sponsors only in the local area, or are there other considerations outside the area?
I think we're going to initially look here locally, try to see if we can find some folks that would be directly related to the community. But having worked events in the past, I know there are a lot of regional partners. Hospitals, real estate agents, insurance companies. I think make for great community sponsors for events like this.
Great.
Are you guys open to ideas from the sponsors themselves for possible events that they would like to sponsor?
Absolutely. And at the same time, although we have sort of set levels or 3 set levels, we're open to ideas from the sponsors themselves about if they don't want to say donate necessarily financially, they'll have an in-kind sponsorship that they'd like to bring. Always open to that as well.
Once that package is finalized, we can certainly send it out to all you guys, because we'll need everyone's help raising money for
Right.
that event.
Commissioner Lawrence?
Did you say 3 levels of sponsorship? Is this something already decided? Did I miss something?
No, this was within the committee. We had kind of discussed the different levels and some of the benefits to someone coming in as a sponsor, correct?
You'll be sending a package to all of us.
Right. We'll want the full commission to definitely help out with soliciting some of those sponsors and reaching out to folks that in the community that might be interested as we, as I said, once we get through the holidays.
Are there any other questions or? Okay, thank you, Mike. I'll be reporting on the Tri-County Art Fest. I will tell you that the Art Fest, I thought for the first year was very successful, and I would defer to Heather to also give her opinion. She was quite kind enough to be representative of the North Cass County Herald there, and she was interviewing students and parents. But I think for the first year, we were really pleased with the amount of artwork submitted. And me personally, I was especially pleased with the turnout of all the parents. I think we had one student who couldn't make the awards presentation, but it was great to see the children and parents dressed up, bringing their kids, their families, grandparents to the awards presentation. And truthfully, the Art League felt that the contest was the highlight of the 2-day art show. I mean, I think, that they were all very enthused about it and look forward to a bigger and better contest next year. Not quite sure how we'll go about doing that, but the one thing that I do know is that we'll have to start earlier on soliciting for artwork, and perhaps next year we'll do all of Cass County rather than just the Ray-Pec district. But again, very good feedback from all the parents, the children, and the artists that were there. So thank you for, the Art League thanks you for your support, and hopefully, they'll come up with some ideas for next year, so.
Sure. I have one question. So Jennifer Parker, she is no longer the president of the Art League?
The elections were just held, and Jennifer is the past president. The new president is Sandy. I'm sorry, I don't remember her last name, but she is no longer the president. She's a past president.
But Sandy is going to continue the Tri-County Art
Yes.
Fest and this work.
No, I think all of the members in the Art League were very enthused, and really, the Art League needed a boost to really give them some new blood in the system. So we're hoping that some of these art students that are seniors in high school can, participate in the league somehow as they turn 18. That's the age requirement for membership in the Art League. And I actually did talk to one of the students who is a photographer and was quite thrilled. She actually sold some work at the show, so I believe she's already counting on joining the league once she turns 18 next spring. So, yeah. Yep.
And it was amazing. You walked into, I don't know if you guys got a chance to go, but you walked in and all of the student art was just right there and it was so nicely displayed and the quality was amazing, which putting it on the front page of the newspaper.
Oh, yeah, I forget.
It was a surprise. I didn't know that was going to happen.
Right. The coverage was wonderful, thanks to the city on the website, both newspapers, but North Cass County Herald, I mean, they had a big, huge photograph on the front page of their paper, and it was wonderful. So it got good coverage, and actually the school network sent out a email to all the district. So if you're a parent participating on the email system in the school system, you got to see an article about it there as well. So I think the sponsorship money was well worth, being spent, and certainly the coverage for the Art Council or Commission was well covered as well.
This is a good point maybe to also mention though that the Art Invitational, although it's been in existence for 7 years,
Yeah.
barely gets any coverage. Even I go on the school's website and I can't even find information about it. Perhaps we can make a point of working more with them next year, and they'll especially need it considering that
Right.
Laura Richardson is
Gonna retire, right. So I think overall it was a very good first year, and we look forward to making it more successful next year. And thank you again for the support. Okay, Meredith, you want to talk about the spring workshop?
Sure. So Commissioner Gambrell had talked to Chair Paris and I about potentially having more of a brainstorming workshop once a session or once a quarter that would allow you all to sit around the table again and just spitball ideas and not have it be such a formal meeting like this. I think that's a great idea. It would have to be a special meeting, however, and with the way that your bylaws are written right now, it says that you can only have one additional meeting per quarter, and so the special meeting about your facilitator workshop will handle that for the first quarter of 2016, and so I'd like to propose that this happen in the second quarter of 2016, and we can work out a date kind of once we get a little bit further into the year. I think it would also be good timing because the report from Jill will be back, and so there'll be some good kind of structure points to start brainstorming around.
and
So
strategic planning.
exactly. Yeah, the strategic planning for the city should be wrapped up in March. They're trying to get it done before the election. So if there's a change up here, we already have something adopted. But I think both would be good opportunities to start the brainstorming process. So I just wanted to make sure Commissioner Gambrell knew that that request hadn't been dropped, but the bylaws would require that it wait till the second quarter.
So we'll probably bring a formal date, approval for a date for that special meeting to our March meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that?
I'd like to propose that we make our meeting after our joint session with the council. That
I'm
way we can use that, because we're supposed to have a joint session with the city council, right? So we'll be getting feedback and talking to them, and that might carry over into some more advanced conversations in our workshop, perhaps.
Sorry, yes. So this meeting would take place after your joint meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So I will make a note to put this as an agenda item on the March meeting to set the date for this to happen.
Thank you.
I got a quick question.
Yes, Commissioner Barry.
How difficult is it to change that portion of the bylaws? I mean, if we want to do something like this once a quarter, if there's a need to do this, and we are going to have other things that get in its way, and suddenly we're stuck and we're only having half the meetings we want, or is there a way to change that to 2 per quarter? How hard is that? Or is that something that's too hard, we should really just
You would be able to re-adopt your bylaws, and the bylaws contain information about how to make changes to those. So if it's something you want to change, you can absolutely do that. The challenge, of course, is always space within the facility to meet, and I think it's important. I think the reason it was put in there was to make sure that there weren't meetings happening every week and to provide some structure to that. But certainly, if you all want to change that, it's your prerogative to do that, and I'm happy to do that as part of, and bring that to you as an agenda item. So you can just let me know.
Now, if we had to do a bylaw change, is that an approval process just within the commission, or does it have to go to the council?
Just within the commission, but it has you need more of a majority than just a simple majority to
Right.
pass it. I think it's 3/4 approval.
Okay.
Yeah. So not challenging to do.
All right, well, that might be for consideration, and if you want to put it on I would say if you want to put it on the March agenda, just because we know we can't do anything before March anyway,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
All right, we have our committee updates, and we are hearing from our first time on the Public Arts Committee. Who's going to be presenting that?
So tonight, I just included the minutes in the
Okay.
packet for your review. The Public Art Committee will actually be presenting at the end to talk more in depth about a project that they're ready to bring forward. So just for any committees, we'll start including the notes in the packet so
Okay.
that the rest of the group can stay apprised. But I don't have it scheduled to do a formal presentation. I just want everyone to stay in the loop.
Okay.
But-
All right, for our consent agenda, the first item is the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from October 13th?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Is there any discussion about those minutes or corrections or addition? Okay, all in favor of approval of the minutes, please raise your hand. Okay, that's a unanimous. Thank you. The minutes are approved. All right. The second consent item is a piece of old business. If you recall, in our October meeting, we talked about potential sponsorship opportunities for some of the high school departments. One of the ones that we talked about was sponsoring the vocal department. And Meredith, if you just want to give a very brief summary of what we decided and what's gone on.
Sure. So I will talk to both A and B, the band and the choir department. So I reached out to both departments to see if there were sponsorship opportunities based on the level of sponsorship that you all had provided to the theater and the art departments. And the choir department, I started at the high school, and they contacted me back and said, hey, a really great opportunity for this might actually be the RAPEC Select program, which is with students from Eagle Glen and Bridal Ridge intermediate schools. It's an after-school choir, and so they need some extra resources to operate, so buying music, those sorts of things. You have to audition to be part of the choir, and it does have students from both groups. And so we would be listed as a sponsor overall at the Parade of Choirs program, which is district-wide in the springtime, if you all chose to approve this. And then, the band. So I have reached out to a variety of people in the band department, the Booster Club, every assistant director, and they've all said, yeah, we're interested, let us take a look at what might be a good opportunity, and then no one has ever followed up, despite me following up multiple times. And so I just wanted to report back to you that they haven't provided any opportunities. And in order to do a sponsorship, we have to have a specific item that we're sponsoring. So I'm happy for your direction on how I should proceed on that, but I've been working on that for a couple of months now and haven't gotten anywhere.
I'd like to volunteer to contact the band department personally and maybe get their attention.
Okay, that would be wonderful.
Thank you, Pat.
It is a busy time of year.
Well,
they Yeah.
just took a trip,
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
So I know they were all
But they're
focused on that.
Yeah.
so-
They're rested.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so to approve the choir sponsorship, we would just need a motion to approve it at the $300 level.
Do I have a motion to approve the Raypeck Choir sponsorship opportunity for $300.
So moved.
A second, please?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion, further discussion? All right. All those in favor, raise your hand, please. Okay. That's unanimous in favor of that $300 grant for the choir. And we'll postpone any decision about the band until Commissioner Stetzer has a conversation with them. Thank you. All right, under new business, we have the first consent item is discussion about the city council art exhibit program here in the chambers. As you recall, the council has approved, they bought actually the hooks, I believe, and it's ready for approval of exhibits based on our discussion tonight. So do we need to talk about this any more other than what we've already talked about? Is there a motion to approve this?
Yeah, so I will just note and say that the Public Art Subcommittee did take a look at this, and the guidelines that are included in your packet are the guidelines that were approved based on their feedback and recommendation. Just at a really high level, there would be 4 quarters or 4 exhibits throughout the year, somewhat quarterly. The city would provide some promotion, and I have included $500 in the Arts Commission budget to do promotion using the city communication methods. But if we need to take out an ad in the paper or something like that, we'll work through those logistics. And there are 13 spaces to put up art in here, and hooks are installed, and I've included the application, waiver, and map in your packet as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has, but we have talked about this.
How soon will this start?
I believe if you look at the packet, they're hoping for a February display with a January application process.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that did come out of the Public Art Committee was considering was for this group to consider having the first exhibit be the students who participated in the Tri-County Art Contest, since we know that exhibit is ready. That would give us a little bit of time, since it is a pretty quick turnaround time, and Chair Paris has provided the contact information. So if you all are interested in that, I'm happy to reach out and just go ahead and get those pieces displayed in here. I think it's a great opportunity to highlight a success that the commission has already had.
I think it sounds like a great idea. I'm all for that.
Okay.
I'd just like to mention that considering the timing of February being the first exhibit, it also might be an ideal time to bring in the community and have a photography contest about what Raymore means to them or something like that.
Okay, great.
Is there any, did everybody read the packet so you're familiar with, well, obviously those in the Public Art Committee are familiar, but is there any other questions from any of the other commissioners who were on the committee? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the City Chambers Art Exhibit Program and the expenditure of $500 to promote the exhibit?
So moved.
A second?
Seconded.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay. That's unanimous. So we have approved the Chamber Arts Exhibit Program, and we will look to reach out to the students, the teachers, and try and get the winners of the Student Art Contest as the first exhibit.
I'll point out that I think we have some guidelines that, for example, in the student art contest, the pieces didn't have to be framed. But I think.
Right, so all it says in here is that they must be ready for display
Yeah.
and backed with hanging wire and framed when applicable.
Right,
But I think
and
in this instance, they were already
They were
mounted.
very
Yeah.
difficult to hang.
Yeah, the students, didn't frame their, they didn't frame their work. Maybe one person did, but they were matted, and I think we can figure out a way to hang it, that's the important thing, is that we hang it and not worry about aesthetics so much on this student artwork, but we can figure it out.
Yeah,
No,
we can work through that.
I do think we want to show the same amount of
courtesy and pride for the student work as we do for a professional artist's work. And frames are not that hard to find. And
They
so-
wouldn't be if it was all standard size artwork,
Right.
but I will tell you that some of it was not
Yeah,
standard
I agree
size.
with that, but I do think that, well, it's just a preference.
No, I will investigate. I think it's important to have them matted and displayed appropriately. So I will definitely make sure that when they're hanging up here, they look like an art exhibit and we're
Right.
giving them the respect they deserve.
And there's ways to, it doesn't have to be a glass frame.
Yeah.
It can be a matte frame, which is very lightweight,
Yeah.
but has a frame around the edge and with plexiglass, so.
Yeah. Yep, I will
There
definitely
are ways to,
investigate.
to get around that. Is there any other discussion? Okay, thank you. All right, the next item is the purchase of the street light banners. As you know, we've already spent the money to buy the brackets to hold the banners. So now, Meredith, if you would talk about the actual banners themselves, and I know you said that the cost was going to increase, if you'll just chat about that for a minute.
Absolutely. So in your packet, I've included a proposed streetlight banner schedule, and so city staff got together and outlined what an ideal schedule would be throughout the year, and the Public Art Committee has taken a look at this as well. Like I mentioned before, the prices on this will change. It's now $610 to do a set of banners around Municipal Circle. To just keep that in mind. But essentially what we have is that from the beginning of spring through the end of the year, the banners will be on display. We don't have them programmed for January and February and the first part of March just based on weather and the damage it could do to the banners, et cetera. So I have two opportunities for the Arts Commission highlighted in this. The one is for Summer Scene. I think it would be great to highlight your premier project with a set of banners. And then the second opportunity is in August as kind of a to be determined opportunity. I don't know if we, it could be any number of things that develop throughout the year. The great thing is these banners can be turned around in fairly short order. I just wanted to get the expenditure held as part of the budget so that we know that we're going to do this at some point, and then we can work out the details of what those banners look like at some point.
Oh, excuse me. Meredith, could I just ask a quick question? A set of banners is how many?
12.
12 banners, so that would be all the poles in the Municipal Circle?
Yeah, the inner poles, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but at one point there was an additional cost if we wanted to change the design per banner. Does that still exist with the new vendor?
With the new vendor, it does not.
Okay,
Yep.
so each of those 12 signs could be different.
Oh, okay.
With the previous vendor we were looking at, there was a reset fee for every new design, et cetera. So it could be 12 different pictures or 12 different, some things that you all put around the circle. They don't have to be the exact same banner. Yes.
So the 12, the total of 2 different event dates is going to be 12 banners for each date.
Correct.
And the new cost on that again is?
The new cost on that is, it's $610 per set that you purchased, and so your total cost for this year would be $1,220.
Are there any other questions on this topic? All right, is there a motion to approve the $1,200 and, what was it?
$1,220.
$1,220. Is there a motion to approve that amount of money for the streetlight banners?
Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
And where, so who will do the design?
So Mike will coordinate the design, but for the Summer Scene, that will use the Summer Scene graphics, et cetera.
You're coming up with a logo. for
Yeah,
that thing.
yes. And then for the other one, I'll put that on a future meeting date for you all to discuss what you want those to look like.
Thank you, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Actually, I have a quick question too. In the table, Are these updated numbers?
Those are not updated numbers.
Okay, all right,
No.
just checking.
All right, could I get a motion to?
Yes, so moved.
Okay, may I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of the purchase of the streetlight banners, please raise your hand. Okay, that's a unanimous, so we've approved that purchase of the streetlight banners. All right. I think that is it for the consent items for tonight, other than or the end of the meeting. Our next item on the agenda is the discussion of the Arts Commission grant program.
So in your packet, I've just provided a very general framework of what a grant program could look like based on what some other communities do and what appears to be successful. Some discussion points kind of to consider are what you want the maximum grant amount to be. Based on your budget, it might not be a bad idea to identify maybe a $250 or $500 limit for that. Whether you want multiple grant cycles during the year, like quarterly you're reviewing grant applications, or do you want all the grant applications funneled to one date so you can evaluate the pool at the same time? Another decision will be who will be responsible for reviewing the grant recommendations. Do you want to do that as a group? Should we create a subcommittee to take a look at that? Obviously, the criteria that will be used to evaluate. And then what the application looks like. I've included a draft for you. And then what sort of post report does the commission want to show how the grant dollars were spent or the impact of the grant, et cetera. So Lenexa and Lee Summit both have a mini grant program that they do through their arts commissions and groups, and so this was mirrored somewhat off of that. For the city of Riverside, they have a tourism tax which generates about $150,000 a year, and the majority of that is given out as grants. And I managed that for 7 years, so I've been through this process a couple of times, and I'm happy to share those experiences too. But this did take some of those elements into consideration as well. So this is just an opportunity for the group to discuss it and then decide if any subcommittee needs to be formed to dive a little deeper into this. So that concludes my report.
The city, if we were to propose a grant program right now, that would come out of the budget, any budget that's approved by the city council. However, going forward, if the city council decides not to give us any money, then the grant program would have to be purely through some fundraising mechanism or foundation.
That's correct. Whatever program you all fund will be funded by the Arts Commission, whether it's dollars you have to raise or dollars given by the city council or a combination of both.
In the packet, you put some of the criteria that's used in other cities. Is there any requirement, if we, as part of the city council or city government, is there any requirement for ADA compliance activity?
It's of course a consideration, but it depends on what the project is. I mean, for $500, if it, in general, if it's an event, is it open to everyone? It can't be, in any project in general, it has to be open to the public. It can't be a private event funded with public dollars. So that might change if you all, begin fundraising and have a foundation or something like that established. But right now, with city dollars, it has to be something that's open and accessible to the public. And then there are guidelines that go with that everyone can get to it and experience it, etc.
Do you have some examples of how this was used in Riverside?
Can you say that again?
Do you have some examples of how this was used in Riverside, some of the events themselves?
Sure. So the city in Riverside, they mainly focused on, they did a couple of different things. Their Chamber of Commerce received part of that money, so they used this as a way to promote that tourism benefit to the city. There were a variety of events that came into town, Midwest All Truck Nationals, Highland Games, which is a Celtic festival that takes place up there. The city has a fall festival called Riverfest that was primarily funded out of this. Just this last summer, a new event called the Dust Bowl Jamboree received grant money, and that was an event that focused on kind of hillbilly music from the 1930s, and it was a really, really cool event, and people brought in their cars with the pots hanging from them, and it was a really interesting event that got formed. Riverside also used it. They sponsored classes with the Kansas City Art Institute, which had its Northland campus in Riverside, so they paid all the tuition and then received the rights to use the artwork in publications as a result of it. So just kind of a wide variety of opportunities and events that they gave funding to. Things like Lee Summit, and Mike might be able to speak to this a little more with his experience, since they have kind of a $500 general limit, those are much smaller projects, I'm assuming, that take place.
Typically, they were one-off projects or individual granting proposals. A lot of the requirements then required, logo placement of the Lee Summit Arts Commission on brochures, pamphlets. Typically, it wasn't uncommon for organizations within the community, such as I believe it was like the Martin City Melodrama, would apply for a grant and would specify they only wanted the grant for promotional materials, to help pay for promotional materials or certain aspect of the program itself.
Yeah, and that I think would be a requirement no matter what format that, just like we've done with our sponsorship opportunities, that the logo must be placed on it. I mean, the city has to be prominently featured as a sponsor, or, that this is a grant recipient project, et cetera.
So, for example, if somebody wanted to bring in some poets for a poetry reading, would putting the logo on the thing they handed out at the door qualify?
Oh, yeah.
What about a school that would like assistance getting to a theater play?
That would be a challenge because it wouldn't be open to the public to participate.
That's what I was going to ask. It would almost preclude many school activities from being part of the grant program because it would be limited to the students themselves and not open to the public, but there's obviously other things that could be done.
Right.
But it would just be a little more difficult to help them in something like Heather just mentioned.
So my concern is, again, there does not seem to be any way that we can directly sponsor activities like musicians to go into the schools or printmakers.
No, and maybe it's just changing that framework a little bit. Instead of having it go into the schools, maybe it's a musician is sponsored as part of a program for the city's Parks and Recreation Department, and it's marketed that way. So, I think partnering with the schools is really important, but there may be ways for us to get to that same end by utilizing the programming structure that we have already with the city Parks and Recreation Department.
And perhaps with some of these projects, we could ask if they would additionally go into the school for a special
Yep.
event.
Yep.
Is there some other way that we could raise some ongoing money for, I'm just using the word endowment, and I don't know how that works with the city budget. And I know we are not, we aren't a foundation, we aren't all those things. But is there a way through the city budget that we can set something up that instead of relying solely on the Arts Commission, that we could, the Arts Commission and other people could evoke donations?
Yes, and that's,
Okay.
I think you'll see when Jill comes in and present her report, that'll be
Okay.
a big component of that. And then staff is already doing some research on what it would look like. The Parks and Recreation Department already has a foundation and is doing some fundraising for that. And so we're looking at, can we somehow repurpose that foundation to be broader, and some examples.
Or set aside certain part of that
Right.
foundation's funds for
Right.
some of the Arts Commission's ideas. And
Yeah.
because the grant thing, I mean, to me, that's something that should be an ongoing kind of possibility. And $500 is not a lot of money. I mean, it's not gonna bring you a dance group, it's not gonna bring you an orchestra, or even a band, probably. So I think we might think about this a little more adventurously.
Okay.
And maybe think of the possibilities outside of our portion of the city budget, which we only know about for this year, and start building something that's lasting, and we're building a tradition, and something that people can donate to, and maybe even put their name on something. But okay, so that's a possibility. So like maybe through Parks and Rec's Foundation, you're saying.
Right. Well, and we're looking at how can we make it more than just Parks and Rec Foundation. So there are a lot of, logistics about, do you all form your own foundation, or do we partner with them? I mean, those sort of things. But I think having a foundation and doing private fundraising is going to be really critical to all of the programs, arts related, moving forward. So
Unless we at some point enact a tax of some kind.
right.
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 I had a question. So is the Parks Foundation the only foundation supporting city services right now?
Right now, they are the only foundation that we have.
How do they get their money?
There is some very limited fundraising that's going on right now. The Parks Department hasn't been very aggressive in the past about using their foundation. And so I think the BRIC program is their first step in that direction. You can buy bricks next year. And so they're really looking at how do they amp up their use of the foundation as well. And so like we've talked about during the focus groups, et cetera, we think that'll be a great tool for the Arts Commission too. Just logistically, we're working through how do you set it up, what's the best way, it has to have its own board, those sorts of things. So we'll dive into that deeper.
Completely private funds then.
Uh-huh.
But the park board itself, they get some sort of financing from new construction, or?
Yeah, so they either get land or a fee. Mm-hmm.
And that's 10%?
I'm not sure what it is off the top of my head. Mm-hmm. But that money goes into their general city budget, not into the foundation budget.
Well, it would appear that there's a lot more discussion about the grant program that we can do, more than we can do in tonight's meeting. So I would say that if we could put this on a future agenda,
Okay.
and perhaps all the commissioners could just give it some thought and come up with some ideas. I think after Jill's presentation, we might have a better understanding of what might need to be done. So I would say that for now, if we could table this grant program discussion until maybe March
Okay.
and see.
Did you?
Oh,
I'm
I
sorry.
did, that's okay. I had one other comment, in noting what was said earlier. You can still have an admissions fee, it looks like, that could be charged.
Right.
So, in thinking about some of these other endeavors that we're interested in, maybe the $500 is used as seed money, knowing that the event would then have to pay for itself by charging an admission fee.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to make sure that we're all in agreement that this is still open for consideration as far as the fees.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because that
Yeah.
would certainly offset some of those expensive items that you had mentioned earlier.
Right. And I think you would see in most programs that it's never, maybe in the first year, let's say the majority of the funding would come from the grant, but to receive funding in future years, you want to see that a program is becoming self-sufficient, and that the reliance on any sort of grant is becoming a smaller and smaller portion of their budget. So yeah, that's a very great point that you made.
Yeah, because we're not looking to make this a not-for-profit. We're making to bring in enough that actually sustains itself, so.
Absolutely. Okay, so we will bring this back in March for some future discussion.
Was there any other discussion by any of the other commissioners? All right, the next item for discussion is the citywide public art project. Again, that's a program that was brought up by the Public Arts Committee. So I'll let Meredith.
Sure. I'm going to turn this back over to the Public Art Committee. Desiree, I believe at your seat we had the handouts that you had, if you want to pass those out to everybody. And I'm happy to answer questions once you get further into the conversation.
Does everybody have a copy? Okay. Desiree, would you like to start the conversation, please?
Certainly. After our meeting, we decided we wanted to have a citywide event, so several fabulous ideas were thrown out, and I think the one that we're running with is decorating Adirondack chairs. The thought being that we can kick this off in the spring, so it can coincide with the annual Easter egg hunt, and we could have chairs that are already pre-decorated and brought in for the event. Thought that it would be great if members of the Arts Committee could actually participate and decorate those chairs. Members of even the city staff, just having lots of examples that we could bring in to show. The event would run through the spring into the summer, and that would allow us to tie into the summer scene event, so we could actually have our final display, if you will, tie in with the first event for summer scene. We could make it a contest, certainly be able to judge all the different chairs based on different categories of participation, which we'll talk about in a moment. One of the other tie-ins, though, that we want is we really want to make sure there are community offerings, so classes or demonstrations, whether we bring in an artist who can help with showing people how to paint the chairs, or if we offer a class. We talked about the desire to, do we want it to just be a demonstration, then people go home and do their own thing, or do we want to make it a class where if you pay one flat fee, that you're given the chair and possibly the materials and everything to do it, or it could be a workshop where we actually get people together to do the work on site. So those things need to be explored. We want to open it up so it is a community-wide event, so individuals, families, kids, seniors. It could be a business as well, even schools, just really making it pretty open. Those categories would lend itself to being judged and having a contest at the end of it. For those that are less inclined for decorating a chair, we talked about having a photography event so that people could snap pictures of the chairs, or they could snap pictures of their chairs traveling, move them around the city. I mean, whatever you want to do to make it a little bit more creative. Those pictures would then be used, obviously, as well for Facebook and other social media, and then they could also be entered into a contest. Obviously, there's a lot more to discuss as far as how we pay for this, how we engage the community, how we think about the logistics for all the classes, and our role, whether or not we're facilitating this event or we're going to be promoting the event. So a little bit more discussion needs to be had.
You had indicated that it would be tied into the Easter, citywide Easter event. When is that?
Every year, the city has a big Easter-wide celebration. There's Easter egg hunts, and a lot of, I think there's, I'm trying to remember, because we
Yeah.
didn't go the last couple of years.
There
My
are a
daughter's
couple
too
of
large,
thousand
but
people who come to it.
It's
Really?
very
Oh, yeah.
big.
It's a big event.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming it's around Easter,
yeah,
but.
it is around Easter. They're actually meeting.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
March
they met
27th?
this afternoon to set their Parks and Recreation did to set their 2016 dates. So I should know that soon.
And is that held at the rec park?
It's at Memorial Park.
Oh, it's at Memorial Park.
Yep.
So the idea of this would be to do the chairs at the start of this as part of the opening event, and then have the judging and have the event carry through the summer?
Well, we would want to have chairs on display so that we could actually show what our intention is. So
you'd need somebody to do a couple of chairs
Ahead of
just
time.
as an example.
Absolutely, and that's where we can kind of kick it off and announce that we are wanting to do this and to promote this as a citywide event. And it gives people anywhere from 2 to 3 months to actually complete the work.
Mhm.
Awesome.
The Easter egg hunt is March 26th.
March
What's the
26th,
day before
Mhm.
Easter?
Yeah.
and that's at Memorial Park.
Yep, at Memorial Park.
And people wouldn't necessarily have to start at that point. There would be perhaps another place that they could, like,
Harriet,
outside of City
excuse me.
Hall, we could, it's not close enough. So there would be another place to access chairs, not just on that one day. So if you didn't show up for the Easter egg hunt, they'd be out here in front of City Hall, and the question is, who's going to pay for the chairs? How are we going to order them up? Those are logistics that we haven't quite totally explored yet.
But the idea is that would be the kickoff event,
Uh-huh.
is the Easter egg, so that we'd have to have funding and somebody make the chairs, in February.
Well, we're talking about the El Cheapo plastic Adirondack chairs that can get, how much? my husband thought they cost like $9.99, but I don't have hard numbers on that, but they're really inexpensive, and they're not.
Are these chairs that you can sit in, or just child chairs?
Sure, no,
Because-
they're plastic Adirondack
Yeah.
chairs, or or something. They're made out of something really cheap. But the idea is to take that base and make it into a piece of art. And, yeah, we have to do a lot of planning between now and March 26th.
Yeah.
Is that part of the, so tonight is the Public Arts Committee asking for some kind of approval, or the idea is to bring it to our next meeting for approval so that we can get started on that? Is this
Yeah.
just?
I think it's
does-
just kind of,
Does
is the Arts
anybody have
Commission
any
interested?
aversion
Time to
to this
discuss.
Yeah.
project, or have any
I
thought?
don't have any aversion, I think it sounds great, but, Easter's coming up very soon, and I think that we should have a flexible date. I like the tie-in with the summer scene, I think that might be the important thing, cause that kind of chair is a summer chair, and, you know, so if we don't make Easter, I think we should have a little flexibility there, just as long as we do this and have fun with it.
I'm just wondering, do they even sell plastic Adirondack chairs during this season before Easter?
I think
I
there
mean,
are some, we have some connections at Sam's Club and
Oh, okay.
Walmart and Lowe's.
Because I don't know when they start
We've
putting out
got to
those
have
kind of
them
things.
stocked.
We can utilize
They're in
some of
our
those
houses.
connections to get them. But yeah, I think the key was to tie it in with the Parks and Recreation event where we know there are a lot of people who will be there already, as a way to kick it off. So, yeah, we can, if for some reason we don't hit the Easter egg hunt, we can look at something else that's happening in April.
Well, even if you get just a couple
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
get it on your website
Mhm.
and have them there, it doesn't have to be 6 or 10 chairs. It can be just a couple, just so people can imagine what it might look like. So I think it's great myself. I like it.
I've got a quick question about where to, wow, this is loud. I'm a little too close to it. Okay, so let's say it does roll out. It's a great, nice, sunny Easter. Everybody wants one. They start working on it. After they get them painted, are you thinking families display them at their home? Or banks take them, put them in their lobby and
Right.
promote it and things like this? Is what?
Everywhere.
Okay, just
Yeah.
trying to figure that out.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because we didn't want it to necessarily be a gathering place that everybody brings one chair. We want to see the chairs throughout town.
Right.
So if we're able to have people and encourage them to put them out, that would be great, because then it's, a reminder of what we're trying to do as a community.
I like the idea of displaying in neighborhoods and getting the businesses to do one too. That way, the whole community's involved. Have a competition among the businesses, and then a competition among the residents, and, maybe a children's category versus an adult category. So I think it's fun.
Well, and you'd have to register, get your chair,
Right.
whatever. And then one of the things we talked about is you could have, each chair would also have a sign that says, created by. And
Little plaque.
Raymore Arts Commission sponsored. And we have to come up with a catchy title, relaxing in Raymore, leaning back in Raymore. What were some, anyway. Summer scene in
Yeah.
Raymore. I mean, that's possible. But we need to come up with that theme and the chairs and the whatever, in the next 6 weeks, probably? Does that seem realistic?
So can I expect then that the Public Art Committee will have an exact plan to present to the rest of us for our next meeting, or
Absolutely.
not maybe in February, in the February meeting?
I think that would be reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will
That
just
sounds
say,
like-
I need to find an article to send out to you. There is a great article, much like the one I sent out today, about people who were putting chairs along sidewalks and trails throughout the community as a way to give those who may not always be as physically active a place to rest, or the elderly, et cetera, a place to sit down.
They're
Yeah.
doing that in Walmart because there aren't
Yeah.
any bus stops,
Yeah.
places to sit at the bus stops.
Yeah,
You just
so.
drive around town and you see people are decorating chairs and creating these seating.
Not all, I would venture to say not all of the chairs might be easily
No.
It'd be easy to sit in because there are some very unusual designs I'm sure you could come up with that maybe you wouldn't want to sit on, but I think it's great idea. So we'll have that for an agenda item in our February meeting with more details on
Great.
the Adirondack Chair public project. That sounds great. Are there any other items on the agenda that we've missed or something that's come up that we need to talk about? Nope. All right, are there any commissioner comments from anyone?
I would just like to encourage everybody to support our local artists and businesses sell art by our local artists and buy them for Christmas gifts, please.
Thank you, Heather. I know your articles in the newspaper are always great, and it's so encouraging to see your support of the arts, and I agree. Support your local artist.
And then
That's
I'd also
wonderful.
like to say I was extremely proud of the student art contest. I
Yeah.
thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm so pleased that we were able to do that.
Yeah. Good. Any other comments? Commissioner Barry?
Completely off topic, but Friday is my son's 18th birthday. He's our youngest, so happy birthday, Michael.
Happy birthday, Mike.
I was going to say, is he in another play?
Yes, but that's one year.
All right, unless any of the staff have any comments, I'll accept a motion for the adjournment of this meeting.
So move.
A second?
Seconded.
Okay, all those in favor of adjourning, please raise your hand. Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.